Nick, with it being tomorrow, I know you've talked about how veteran leadership group this team is. Just, are you letting them take this moment in, or are you letting them soak this in? Are you letting them balance their own emotions, so to speak?
No, we just went business as usual, and that's the one thing I appreciate about our team. And I've said this all year long. They're really good at doing the next thing. And when you look back even earlier in the year, and I've said this before, but how do you win 17 games in a row in college baseball? The way you do that is you just focus on the next thing, and you just move on to the next pitch. And I know it's coach speak and all that, but they've done a really good job doing whatever's next. And the practice and everything just felt like every other practice, and I just appreciate their maturity for that.
In what ways do you think LSU's different from the first time around?
Well, a lot of ways, but I think the biggest thing right now is Travinsky's really going good. I think he's on pace. I think I did the math. He's on pace to hit 30 home runs. He's got 10 home runs and over 80-something at-bats. And, I thought earlier in the year, too, they had just had some of those injuries that they had, and their guys were trying to find their way. But it seems like they've really found a way with their bullpen and the pieces and the way in which they use their guys.
You said there was no way to prepare your guys for walking into a place like this with 13,000 fans the first time around. So now that you guys walked in, I know it's not game day, but just walking in, how does it feel? How do you guys feel?
I had multiple guys come up to me, Coach, it just feels so much better knowing that we've been here. We practiced on University High School fields. That was the first time we were there. But everything else was, you could just tell they were comfortable and they were focused. And I know this fan base, they'll do everything they can to make our guys uncomfortable, which they're really good at. But it does help that we've been here.
With going against Paul Skeens, whenever he throws first game, last game, whatever it is just the intimidation factor of knowing he's going to throw that day maybe just as good as his actual stuff when he steps on the mound?
Well, I would say amazing pitcher. He's had an amazing year. All the strikeouts, very few walks. He's a true number one. And, there's a lot of people saying he's going to be the first pitcher taken in the draft. And for me, for our guys to have an opportunity to face a guy like that, you wouldn't want it any other way. That's why you signed up to play in the Southeastern Conference, and I'm speaking for every team in our league. Like, this is why guys like him go in the transfer portal and try to come, because they're that good. So definitely a challenge, but one to which our guys, same thing. They faced him. They have some at-bats. It's not like they haven't seen him yet. So obviously they'll be prepared and they'll be ready and hungry, but special pitcher for sure.
Nick, you said a couple times spoken about y'all's friendship. What does it mean going against him? And does it make it better or worse that you're going against someone who you have a rapport with?
I've learned over the years, even competing against a guy that I coach with in Butch Thompson at Auburn, that you do have to put that aside. But when it did come out that we were paired up with them, there was a part in my mind where I was happy, because that just meant one of us were going to go to Omaha. And that's what we want to do for our teams. That's what we want to do for our programs. That's what we want to do for our state. And the fact that we were paired up, the one positive is that meant one of us got to go to Omaha. And when you have a friend like I do in Jay, outside of you playing against them, like, you just don't root against your friends. Like, that wouldn't be a true friendship, that to help for your friend to do bad, outside of when you're competing against them. But, I've learned to put that aside, but the good news is one of us get to go to Omaha.
Nick, is it an oversimplification to say you're playing with house money, or is that fairly accurate?
I'll kind of leave that to you guys to decide. I just tell you that our team is a confident team, and I think every team would be. Same thing, LSU is a confident team. All the teams that are left, you're not this deep unless you're confident. But definitely a big challenge ahead of us, and one we're looking forward to.
With as many times that you had your back against the wall in the regional, do you think that kind of helped you away from a comfort standpoint, and throw on top that you've seen this team before, been in this environment? Is there anything that can rattle this team now?
Yeah, Matt, that's a really good comment, and that is true, because we had our backs against the wall for 3 straight games, and we had to win 3 games in a little over 30 hours. And that's hard to do, as you know. And our guys did it. And there was a moment in that first elimination game on Sunday, where I felt like the team took a deep breath and they just kind of cut loose. Sometimes, it's when you care too much, that's not always a good thing. But when you just go, man, I'm just taking it off and I'm going for it. And our team loosened up. They started doing this deal in the dugout where they were throwing one of our players in the air, and then they're sitting on a bench and a guy's scoring, they're squirting him with water and throwing ice at him, and he's running down doing the high fives. And there was a moment as a coach where I go, this is a good thing. This is a really good thing. And when you have your back against the wall and you can play at times with that much freedom, that's what I would want for my team again this weekend.
Speaking of one of your players a while ago, just the entire, attitude and culture he talked about, the underdogs that came to Kentucky, would you kind of tell them as well? Can you kind of speak to that?
Well, coming into this NCAA tournament, to my knowledge, I think we've only had one guy that's played in an NCAA postseason game, like Division I. Like one guy. Let that sink in. We're going to, all right, here we go. As a coach, could have been like, oh my goodness, I got one guy that has this experience. And instead, because we had a bunch of guys come here that wanted to win for Kentucky and no other agendas other than trying to help Kentucky win. And next thing you know, here we are in a regional tournament and we're in a loser's bracket and we chose the hard route and we were able to get it done. And it's because our guys truly do care and they love each other and they do feel like, hey, look, people have counted us out, right? When I looked at the preseason rankings and looked at all the other picks, and nobody had us in the Super. I haven't seen one guy. If you've seen it, point it out to me. I'll write him a card and thank him. But we haven't had that. So there's just been a group of guys that came here to win, and it's been a fun group.
Going off of that, a lot has been made about the chirpiness of last series, the trash talk. For you, where's the line with your guys?
You talking about between us and LSU?
Yeah, the last series, it was vocal, to say the least, and Garrett Jones hit the home run and the quick pitch and all that stuff. But for you, as your team, within the boundaries of that culture, where is the line for you and how far you let your guys go?
Well, you know this, but when you get in a competitive environment, right, either coach, you don't ever want your team to back down, right? It's not okay. That's not okay. But you do have to be within the rules and the sportsmanship, and the NCAA has done a really good job this year making that a point of emphasis. So, as far as drawing a line and the chirpiness and all that, do I think that will happen again? I have no idea. But I would just hope that if it does get to that spot, that it's handled and guys can move on and go on to the next thing.
Did you see the young man in the Tennessee Clemson game that got ejected? That was very controversial. Do you have to worry about stuff like that? He's running off the field, said some things, and they threw him out of the game, and a lot of people were upset with that.
I saw the video clip. I didn't know what happened. I know that we have a plan in place with our team. If we ever do get a warning or anything like that, how we go about it, we're very systematic on how we do it. In the event, I hope that never happens, And so let's hope that it doesn't get to that point for either team. Neither team wants that. Neither team wants that.
With this LSU lineup, besides the obvious, what in your mind makes it so successful and so hard to pitch around, pitch to?
Yeah, it's a deep lineup. It's really long, right? There's a lot of talk about Dylan Cruz and Tommy White and, many others. But it's long. You just get by them and then you can't take a break. You can't take a breath. You don't score, and they average, over 9 runs a game. I think last weekend they were averaging over 10. You don't do that without really good players in a long lineup. You're right. As coaches, sometimes you face a team and there's 1 or 2 guys, and once you get by them, you kind of take a break, or you get through the first 6 or 7 and you feel like you got to kind of get some guys at the bottom. That's not the case with their lineup. Their lineup is really long, and they make it really hard on you.
You talked about the lack of experience with your players at this stage, but you talked about how you had it, as a player and coach. I guess, what have you told them? It's not just 2 games away from Omaha. What does it really take to get to Omaha now that you're right here?
Yeah, so, last week we told the team there's good news and bad news. Once we lost that game, we went to the loser's bracket, right? The bad news is we lost the game. The good news is there's been people that have worn that jersey before you that have been in the same position and got it done. And I happened to be the coach of the team. So it's like, hey, we feel like we have a roadmap and a way for success. So for these guys, now they get an opportunity to write the rest of their story and to write a whole new chapter of Kentucky baseball history. And the way you do that is you got to take down LSU on their home field, and so they get an opportunity to write that story.
How much have you gone back and looked at the previous series? Because Jay said that you guys are totally different. He hasn't gone back and looked at it a ton because you are so different. They're different. Have you scrapped it, that series game plan, or do you take little bits and pieces? How do you prepare for a team that you've already seen here?
Yeah. So I went back and watched their hitters here. I haven't spent any time on our guys offensively, but I've watched their hitters to see how they reacted to our pitchers and things of that nature. So I've done that. I've watched every game, every pitch.
We've got time for 2 more questions.
Nick, after the winning the regional Monday, there was that moment in the post-game press conference where you brought Coach Madison up and sat beside you. I know this is probably an answer you could go very lengthy on, but just how much of that relationship with him meant to you?
Yeah, it's meant the world. Coached at Kentucky for 25 years, and faithful man. Has mentored me and our staff through Bible studies every week for 7 years, and he loves Kentucky. He loves Kentucky, and sometimes he opens up our Bible studies each week, and he's like, "All right, let me give you some thoughts. Let me do a quick mound visit here," and he'll share some thoughts and ideas. And this is a guy that when he retired, he's top 3 or 5 career in SEC wins, and I hope I'm not shorting him there. So he's worn this jersey way more than I have, and to have a coach like that, a former coach that has been through it in the battles, that just not only mentor me spiritually, but even as a coach, it's meant the world to me, because he's drove 20 minutes every week in town from Wilmore, Kentucky into Lexington, and throughout the summers we go eat at Malone's, my favorite restaurant in Lexington, and we spend time during the summers, and there's no question that his fingerprints are all over me and our team. So very appreciative of him.
Jay was pretty adamant he didn't want to start a game. I'm sure you feel the same way, and then have it stopped, and then have a pitcher burned after 3 innings, right? So that's kind of a question about tomorrow, if there is any weather or not. So those are things out of your control, right? But I'm sure drive you crazy. What do you think about it?
Yeah, we cannot do that. We cannot start a game, if we feel like the rain's coming. And our site rep Greg and all the people here, hey, we were here last time and there was weather issues, and I cannot compliment LSU staff enough on how good a job that they did. Like, in all my 17 years being in this league, they handled the weather as good as you could possibly do it. And I'm looking at trying to figure it out, and I think I'm pretty good at Lexington weather. And I'm sitting here and I can't figure it out. I'm like, I don't see how we're going to play or what we're going to do. And credit to the LSU staff. When I tell you they hit a grand slam, it was exactly what they said. And unfortunately, sometimes it goes that way and sometimes it doesn't. And if we were to start a game or not start a game, none of us want to do that, but I just have our complete trust in the people doing it, especially the job that the staff here at LSU did last time. I mean, you can't imagine being in a coach and not knowing what's going to happen, and is there some gamesmanship and all that. We've all had those thoughts, but the people here at LSU, they could not have done better. And we'll just trust them, and they know the weather better than we do, and we'll trust them, and I feel confident they'll make the right call. And if not, we're not blaming them, because stay off of them, because we can't predict the weather. There's only one person that can do it, and it's none of us,
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Go Cats.
Thanks, Nick.